So it is time to start our session. So good evening to all the esteemed participants, resource persons, guests, and good morning to some people also. This is Jayanto Kolita, SOD, Department of Education, Masbat College, and the convener of this international webinar. It is an honor and privilege for me to welcome you on behalf of the organizing committee to this international virtual expert group discussion on post-pandemic quality assurance in education, which has been organized jointly by Department of Education, Masbat College, Masbat Udalguri, and Department of Education, Sapekhati College, Soraido, Assam, India. I wish to extend my deep appreciation to Dr. Pradip Kumar Sharma sir, Principal.
Jayanta, you unmute yourself. Jayanta, you unmute yourself.
Yes, sir. Done, sir.
Okay.
I wish to extend my deep appreciation to Dr. Pradip Kumar Sharma sir, Principal, Masbat College, and Dr. Konoklata Kumar Madam, Principal IC Sapekhati College, for giving us permission and continuous support to organize this webinar. I am also grateful to Professor Ramaykanto Mohalik sir, who helped me to contact with our three distinguished resource persons from abroad for today's webinar. So without further delay, I'd like to request Dr. Pradip Kumar Sharma sir, Principal, Masbat College, for his welcome address as well as inaugural speech. Please, sir, over to you.
Okay. Thank you, Janto. At the outset, good evening to all. It is a one-day international webinar on post-pandemic quality assurance in education, jointly organized by Department of Education, Masbat College, Masbat, Assam, India, and Department of Education, Sapekhati College, India. Friends, at first, I welcome to Professor Ramakanta Mohalik, RIE NCERT Bhubaneswar, who will deliver the note speech. And welcome to our resource person, Abdenser Naji, President IFEAS North Africa, Dr. Gerardo Blanco, Boston College, America, and Professor Faisal Al RFOUH, Department of Pole Science, New York University, Canada, will grace as speaker come resource person in today's webinar. Along with the host college principal, coordinator, and participant from different corners of world, I, on behalf of organizing authority, welcome all of you from the core of my heart and inaugurate this webinar. I hope from this webinar, we may learn many and more new aspects. Thank you. Thank you from me. Over to John.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Pradip Kumar Sharma sir, for your nice words and welcome speech, as well as the inaugural speech.
There is many people speaking. Many people speaking. I can't hear. I want to hear it from one.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Now I request Principal, Sapekhati College, Dr. Konoklata Kaur, Madam, for a brief speech. Please, Madam, over to you.
Very good evening to all of you. Myself, Dr. Konoklata Kaur, Principal IC of Sapagiri College. At first, I give thanks to all organizing committee of this webinar, and welcome to Dr. Pradip Kumar Sharma, Principal Masbat College, Professor Ramakanta Mahalik, coming from Bhubaneswar, Professor Naji sir, welcome to you. Professor Dr. Gardo Belcon, all of you, I welcome for this webinar.
Thank you.
And all
Thank you,
faculty
Madam. Thank you, Madam, for your nice words. And without further delay, I request Professor Ramakanta Mohalik sir to take share of this webinar. Sir, please, over to you, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Joyant, the convener of the webinar. At the outset, I feel honored to be one of the resource person or part of the webinar organized by the Majabet College, Assam, India. So the topic is very relevant and useful for the participants. And at the same time, I am very glad and very happy and privileged that three very senior academicians from different parts of the world, they are with us today, and we will have a very good interaction, deliberation, and wonderful learning experience from them. You know, before I request Professor Faisal to make presentation, I want to make a very brief maybe presentation on the seminar theme, the webinar theme. The quality is something everybody is interested, not in field of education, but in every field. So therefore, quality is very common for all of us. But in this webinar, today we will discuss quality in higher education. And in India recently, we have a document of new education policy 2020-20. The major highlights of the new education policy is to promote and provide quality education to all. The target given by the new education policies by 2030, we want to achieve 50% of gross enrollment ratio in the field of higher education. At present, we have gross enrollment ratio of only 26% something. So not only the quantitative expansion of education, but also we want to achieve a quality higher education at the tertiary level. So this webinar will help us in understanding the quality parameters, the quality aspects of higher education in different countries of the world. Professor Fazal will be here. He will be speaking on the higher education, the quality assurance in higher education in Jordan. He is basically from Jordan. Dr. Naji, who is from North Africa.
Professor, a lot of people speak at the same time. I can't hear. I mean, there is no administration for this conference because a lot of people, a lot of colleagues speaking together.
Sir, okay.
Because I can't hear.
Jayanto, please see. You mute everybody. Jayant.
Ornav Satya, you mute all the participants.
So all the participants are already muted.
Professor Faisal, I am sorry for that. But I want to tell you that I am not getting any disturbances from my side. I am not listening any disturbances from participants. I don't know how you are listening, but I am not getting any disturbances. We have muted all the participants on entry. Let us see, maybe for some time afterwards it will be all right. Sir, please bear with us. So we'll have a very good one. Yes, Professor Faisal. So India, we have a largest education system in the world. So we have, around 1,000 universities, around 40,000 colleges. It's a very large education system. So having a qualitative expansion of education is not sufficient. We want to promote a qualitative, a rigorous, a skill-based, a competency-based higher education system. So this will not automatically will come to us. We have to work for the quality education. So this webinar will help us. Many faculty members are from colleges and university. They are attending this webinar. They will get an idea, like how they can ensure the quality of education facilities, education opportunities in their respective colleges and universities and departments. So we'll listen to the experts from abroad. They'll share their experience. They'll share their innovative practices. They'll share their policies in the field of higher education and how they are providing quality education to their students. India, of course, we are a developing country. We are having a lot of diversities. We are having certain disadvantaged section of the people. I think this disadvantage and diversity is everywhere in every country. But in spite of that, some of the countries of the world, they have, the highest quality education they are offering. Even recently, like, the World University ranking, from India, our place appear in the rank of 185. Some IIT, some Institute of Science that appeared. No universities that appeared in the list of top 100 world universities. This is very unfortunate and we are unhappy for that. And therefore, the government of India, the different state governments, they're taking a lot of initiative and efforts to raise the status of higher education in different colleges and universities. So with this background, now I request Joyan to introduce the speaker, Professor Fazal. Then Professor Fazal can make a presentation. Now it is over to Mr. Jayant.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir, for your nice presentation and deliberation and your nice words and speech. Now I welcome to Professor Faisal Char. Before welcoming him, I would like to introduce him before our participants. So, respected participants, the Professor Faisal Ho, a Fulbright scholar, is a visiting professor at Gladon in the Department of Political Science, York University. He was the Dean of School of International Studies and the Chairman of Political Science Department for 19 years at University of Jordan. He is a Professor of International Relations at the University of Jordan and a former Minister of Social Development, Administrative Development and Culture of Jordan. He is the President of the Orient Forum for Cultural Dialogue NGO. He was a visiting professor at Brigham Young University, USA from 2000 to 2001, Michigan University 2009 to 10, USA, York University, Canada in 2009, Toronto University, Canada in 2010, and McGill University in 2013. He awarded at 2002 the Ambassador for Peace from the Interreligious and International Federation for World Peace, along being an author of 21 books and 65 published articles in both Arabic and English languages, also supervised 120 MA and PhD theses. Respected participants, it is our great pleasure that Saris agreed to present with us today as a resource person to deliver his speech on this vital topic. So without further delay, I warmly welcome Professor Faisal Shah to this virtual platform for his deliberation. Please, sir, it is your time now. Welcome you, sir.
First of all, good morning according to Toronto time, and I believe it is good evening according to India time. Can I speak alone, please? Somebody else, I can't hear.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We are listening. Please continue.
But the other one, can the other one please mute him until I finish this 15 minutes? First.
Others are muted, sir.
First of all, I want to thank all my colleagues, Professor Ramakant, who invite me and introduce me to this very important and unique conference. I am hearing myself. Can you please arrange something electronically? The Indians, they are the most smart minds to learn the people how to use the computers, and I think they can do it now.
That's right, sir. But we are listening nicely.
Yes.
Your voice.
Okay. Good. That's good. You forgot to tell I am a GNU alumni also, and I spent 7 years from my studying MA, MPhil, and PhD also from India. Now, anyhow, okay. Yes, I am. I understand now. My title will be about Corona pandemic and the distance learning quality and insurance mechanism in higher education in Jordan. As you know, my dear, is that Jordan is very small country without any resources, but we have a human being resources, and we are proud of that, especially in the field of education and the health sector, and also the other agriculture sectors. And I believe that Jordan, from the very beginning, the first Arab countries, or let me to say the first Middle East countries, who awake early to detail with the coronavirus, I think a few months before the others, and we start to bring back our people from China and from other worlds early before any other countries. And as you know, this you can say world pandemic or international pandemic, nobody's up to date, understand how it's come, how it's begin, who's the reason, and what is the main medicine for that. Let us to see almost they change it from health issue to a political one from China and from USA, who started it and who the responsible for that, unfortunately. And almost the world is start to think in a way that is the globalization is no more globalization. Now each country think as my nation, unfortunately, because as a result of this pandemic. Let us to see what Jonathan Sachs said. He said it is almost something punishment of God against the human being because they are not respect the teaching of God. And of course, we are not going to believe that, but anyhow, this is what he said. Also, he said it is unusual, almost challenge faced the world, and it is true. It is unusual when faced this world. This is unknown virus. Nobody knows the details of it. It's some kind of virus. Many thinkers or many scholars, they said it is a human being creator. And the others, they said it's no, it is by natural anyhow. The result of this pandemic, it is really crossover against all the means of life in the world, especially the economic and social one. And let us to say one thing, that is the world before chronic virus will never be and will not be the same world after this pandemic, unfortunately, because the isolation of the people and almost the put an end for the economic activity, teaching activity, and now the culture of distance learning starting and all over the world. Even we do it now in Canada, and I'm sure in India also, and all over the world. And how Jordan dealt with that, with its limited sources, especially for the education field. As you know, and as I mentioned, that is Jordan depends on its human resources, especially in academic or education system. And from the very beginning, as I mentioned, the people of Jordan almost they obey the law. That is why I think some countries, Middle East, Jordan, from these countries in the green zone, so they can go and enter most of the world countries, especially the EU. The other thing, also, how it's come, it's not possible that is the physical teaching, same thing as the distance teaching, but still the Jordanian mechanism start to organize at least to minimize the harm from the distance learning through the I mean, all the schools, they start to distribute the internet and computers. Most of the Jordanian students, especially in the higher education universities, no problem with universities. Even the schools, the government manage to arrange for to be successful this experience learning, distance learning in Jordan. Actually, let us to say that also the high school diploma also perfectly it's done and under the control of the government, and it's almost fair, and I believe it's fair, and the results is almost according to the high quality and accordance to the usual years before this pandemic happened in this world. Let us to say also another thing, that is the results of the schools and universities. It's almost not, I mean, not negative as before that. No, it is the same according to what the higher education said about the results, which it is last almost a few weeks, especially the high school. I believe that the coming semester will be in the distance learning, and thank God we have very good you can say network in Jordan, and the universities also provide the students free access to the net, which it is make it so easy. The problem we faced only in the some scientific you can see practical scientific fields such as medicine, dentist, and engineering, and maybe for somehow the science. These subjects, the final exam should be physically, should be attended as physical person. So that is why we want to keep the insurance, I mean the quality of the medicine and engineering and the other, you can see, not social sciences, the practical sciences to be according as usual in Jordan. Regarding the higher education in social sciences and human sciences, almost most of it, even the MAs and PhD thesis viva, it is through the net. Let me to summarize. I believe that is Jordan successful in this field to deal almost perfectly with the results of this pandemic on the higher education in Jordan, and to produce at least a good quality, maybe not 100% as it was before, but let me say 90% from what it was before the pandemic. Actually, this pandemic is, you can say, change even the education culture of the students. No more connection together as it was before. Also, the culture of university life, it is almost changed, and not just in Jordan. I believe it is all over the world. It's affect all the people culture, you know. So the question now is, I am satisfied as person about what happened in Jordan. Let me to say, I am more than 80% satisfied according to my experience as a visiting professor in States and in Canada and in many universities and even in Europe. I am almost satisfied what the Jordan government and what the Jordan people also. Actually, the other countries, maybe you find out the people is not that participate to face that such a pandemic, but the Jordanian people also help the government. As you know, we have very limited resources, and we have very crucial, you can say, budget. So I believe that is the Jordanian people and the government, and they reach almost or minimize the I mean the negatives, reflect negatives of the this pandemic. I just last 2 months I interview me the Washington Center, and I sent it to my dear Professor Rimat, and I hope he distributed that to the participants so they can understand how Jordan dealt with this, not just education field, but on all fields in Jordan. I am very proud to be with you again, and I am happy to see you again and to see India, because almost the flesh of my shoulder is from India. As 7 years I lived in Jawaharlal Nehru University. Thank you for listening, and I wish your conference all the successful.
Thank you so much, sir, for your nice presentation and deliberations. We have learned much from your deliberation. I know we have the much experience in education and research, and you have experience as Minister of Development and Administration and Culture of Jordan. So we are very happy that you have shared your experiences with all the participants of today's webinar, and we are really grateful, and we appreciate you that you accept our invitation and sharing your compelling thought with us. Thank you so much for giving your valuable time and sharing all the experiences about Jordan and higher education and all. Thank you once again, sir. On behalf of the organizing committee, I also request you to be with us for the end of the webinar, please, sir.
Thank you. And as I told my colleague, Professor Ramakan, I have really other, engagement in my university. So I will leave you in peace, and I wish you all the best. And my email with you, any question regarding that, anybody of the panelists can send me any email, any question regarding that, either according to Canada or according to Jordan also.
Thank you,
Yes,
thank
yes,
you, sir. Thank you very much, Professor Faisal.
Thank you.
We are very, very happy that you are part of our program. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you once again, sir. As our Faisal sir has said that he is ready to answer a few questions of our participants. So all the participants, I request you to put your query. If you have any query regarding his speech, then please put your questions and raise your hand so that we can allow you to unmute yourself, please.
Jayanto,
Yes,
he said he will answer the question
Thank you.
by email. He has some other work. You ask Dr. Naji to present.
Sure. Thank you once again, Faisal sir, and respected participants. And I also request you all to keep your questions in your hand, and we will allow you in the set box to put your questions at the end of the second deliberation of Professor Naji. So I am very proud and honored to have the magnanimous presence of Professor Abdel Nasser Naji, carrying a stupendous experiences in education and research. Sir did his PhD in education. He is the president of IFEAS Middle East and North Africa, president of Amaquin Institute, think tank of quality in education, director of the Journal of Quality in Education, former advisor to 4 ministers of higher education, former director of quality at the Ministry of Education, member the Higher Council of Education and Research, advisor to international organizations, author of many books in the field of education and management. So friends, without further delay, I would like to welcome Professor Naji sir for his deliberation. Please, sir, it is your time, sir, please.
Thank you so much for inviting me to participate in this important webinar. I am very pleased to share with you a few ideas about the topic of the webinar. The title of my presentation is Quality of Education After COVID-19, Pathways to Take. Please, can I share with you screen?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, you can.
It's okay?
Yes, yes.
The title of my presentation is Quality of Education After COVID-19, Pathways to Take. First, we must say that COVID-19 is a health crisis that generated global crisis in all areas, including education. The closure of schools and universities forced educational leaders to adopt distance education. The sudden change from face-to-face education to distance education has generated problem of equity and quality. My presentation will focus on the issue of the quality of education at all levels of education systems, including higher education. I will start with an analysis of strengths in various fields related to education. But before I can generally say that it is possible to predict certain trends will continue over the long term, others are less easy to predict. This is particularly the case with developments observed in the field of youth, culture, or international conflicts. These areas are more suitable for the development of scenarios based on the hypothetical evolution of a given trend in particular direction rather than exploration. The question is, can we influence the trends? If the trends are not predictable, it may be possible to reverse them. Education is the best way to do it. The philosopher Leibniz said, who is the master of education can change the face of the world. And Nelson Mandela said, education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. In order to get this way, we have to analyze the trends and to prepare scenarios to take the best decision. But let's first know the trends. Life expectancy has reached an unprecedented level. The income gap observed between the average citizen of the richest country and the average citizen of the poorest country is very large and continues to widen. Attack on diversity and rise in xenophobia despite the encouragement of brain drain. Pollution, deforestation, loss of biodiversity and climate change. New economic powers such as China and India are now emerging, a more integrated global labor market. Rising education levels, increasing investment in education, and women with higher education level than men. The digital revolution is linked to the joint use of nanotechnologies and biotechnologies and ICT, such as smart networks, artificial intelligence, and genetic manipulation. A decline in electoral participation, rise in the power of alternative forms of political participation associated with the direct expression of opinion on certain specific issues. The new distribution of responsibilities does not necessarily translate into a weakening of central power. The nuclear family model still occupies central place, but more and more children are living in single-parent families and in reconstituted families. A more individualistic world marked by a decline in the feeling of belonging to communities and society of networks. Each age group places more importance than the previous on self-expression and quality of life, and less importance than the previous on traditional sources of authority. Increased consumption, obesity at one side, and empty stomachs at another. Socio-economic inequalities are growing. And now what possible pathways to take? Considering the learning needs of older people, balancing expenditure between social needs and educational needs, public spendings on hard attentions may explode to the detriment of the education of the youngest. The revenues may decline, generated an increased control of educational spending. School can act as a social anchor for population exposed to problems of isolation, exclusion, and exodus. Investments in education can help worsen global inequalities. Education can play a key role in economic and social development for less developed regions. The school as cultural modes or multicultural schools, inclusive schools or discriminatory schools, new education markets based on privatization and educational subcontracting, or confirmed sovereignty based on civic education, ethics, and values. Innovative schools and learning schools, or massification to detriment of the quality of learning. Parental claim or school parents pact with institutionalization of this relationship. The authority of the school, the authority of the teacher, and school of the elites, school of the left behind. The challenge is the shift from the dominant model of school to a new model. The dominant model is characterized by compulsory confinement of children from a very young age in specialized educational space, very different from adult life. The normal duration of schooling is continually extended, which delays the start of recognized adult life and lengthens the process of confinement. A growing gap between public institutions favoring the control of children and the private sphere where children are more authorized to express their choices, exercise their autonomy, and seek personal development. Despite the fast rise in educational levels, the adult population in many countries face serious literacy problems. Fundamental questions of values and ethics, the concept of the school with or for or instead of the community, but not the school as a community. An industrial model of the school manufacturing future workforce, much of which is endowed with basic skills, but also with a docile attitude. The traditional examination system that still dominates in many countries exerts an undue influence, diverting colossal volumes of energy towards validation to the detriment of the learning process. Towards a new model characterized by learning organization adapted to the knowledge-based societies of today and tomorrow, schools and school systems breaking the mold of traditional classrooms and classical pedagogy from the predominance of the classroom and its teacher to more complex teams of teachers working in collaboration. The teacher will be the facilitator and the one who knows, the expert and the member of team working in network concerned with the needs of individuals and the wider environment, combining teaching and educational research. The involvement of parents and others in school teaching and learning. Focus more effectively on educational objectives through imaginative use of equipment and creative architectures, opens schools to other jobs, learners, and students, creates alternative forms of education beyond traditional places, harness the potential of ACT to make a difference in learning. Break the monopolies on validation and exploit other opportunities for recognition of skills. The full individualization of learning, the education research system is expected to be an important source of new ideas, innovations, and improvements. Quality assurance can make a difference in this way. But what emerging trends that are impacting QA? Change in focus from inputs to outputs, a move away from intuitive judgments to examining, adherence to explicit statements of requirements, demand to know more about the competencies of graduates, switch in emphasis from quality assurance for accountability to quality assurance for enhancement, increasing cooperation between external quality assurance agencies. Then a quality system for the future must move from mechanistic approach to humanist approach, giving meaning to the concept of quality in its practices, seek to develop the potential of the person and worry about maturity criteria instead of making him adopt models of knowledge, of behavior, so that he acquires an attractive appearance and worry about criteria of conformity. Cultivate values according to the criteria of the common good instead of fighting mistakes, failures in logic of sanction. Possible quality assurance models. First, the quality of deception and education in manipulation. It is the skillful handling of pretenses, ready-made formulas, advantageous behavior. These are the message and the product of an education entirely centered on knowing how to sell yourself, to pretend, to pass the exam, and this in sure effort to mask the feelings and exploit those of others. This is the know how to do it model. Second, reductive quality and eliminatory education. Quality as discipline with rigid rules based on suspicious monitoring. It is a whole arsenal of constraints, tests, injunction of perfection in the materialization of things which is developed. The customer is transformed into a harsh figure who condemns and punishes but does not appreciate. This is the quit-out model. Third, complacent quality and fashionable education. Quality is what appeals to you. It is therefore necessary to seduce, but also to be in the current, to be in fashion. We can conceive of demand marketing that plays on complacency, a question of packaging and trendy models. This is the equation of modern pedagogy. This is the pretenses model. Fourth, qualifying quality. Quality refers to the intrinsic values, cultural values of each other. It is the result of a culture of personal or collective mastery and in that of qualification. It is an exercise of mastery and therefore qualified. The qualifying quality is therefore a culture of own values, those of people, those of an institution, those of a region, those of a country, those of the universe. This is the humanist model. The best quality assurance model for me is the qualifying quality, not a second model of good quality according to such or such standard and to conform to it. No longer denounce and hunt down all practices and erroneous conceptions. It is a question of cultivating own cultural values while declining them at all levels by confronting them with other communities up to the scale of globalization. John Kennedy said, "Our progress as a nation can be no swifter than our progress in education. The human mind is our fundamental resources." And again, the best quality assurance model, institutions, staff, and students, and the government should continue to consider improving quality as an essential goal of learning, teaching, and research. The quality of higher education institution should be evaluated in light of the needs and expectations of society, including the labor market. This assessment should also include consideration of ethics, consider equal opportunities for students, and foster innovation. Higher education institutions should clearly explain their mission and goals, which should then provide the basis for the improvement on quality assurance. Quality assurance is both linked to the ongoing debate on the objective of higher education institutions and ongoing efforts to improve the capacity of institutions, staff, and students to achieve these goals. Quality assurance for accountability to quality assurance for enhancement. Accountability is concerned with the institution or program being able to demonstrate that it is operating at or above the basic minimum standard to justify its right to receive public funding or other rights, while quality enhancement is concerned with the continuous process of quality improvement. While it can be argued that quality assurance systems should, as they mature, place greater emphasis on enhancement, it should be remembered that the most important imperative placed on quality assurance body is to ensure that the worst program offered by an institution that comes under its purview is of an acceptable standard. The dangers of compliance is that institutions will engage in what has been termed a compliance culture when all the effort is put into attempting to obtain a positive accreditation decision or good score from the external quality assurance body, rather than actually improve the quality of what is being done. And Richard Lewis, the former president of Inquiry, International Network of Quality Assurance Agency in Higher Education, said, "Tell us, Quality Assurance Agency, what you need in evidence that this program is healthy, and we shall provide it. In such situation, institutions are encouraged to hide weaknesses rather than to demonstrate that they have identified them and are taking steps to overcome them. Thank you for your attention.
You can ask a participant if they have any question, they can.
Yes. Thank you, sir, for your nice presentation. And now I request all the participants, please put your questions if you have any questions. And you can also put your questions in the chat box, as well as you can put your question directly if you raise your hand, and we will allow you to unmute yourself.
So Dr. Naji, I have one question I want to learn from you. What kind of mechanism or agency are placed in your state for assuring quality in higher education?
Yes, we have an agency for quality assurance and evaluation in higher education. You hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we have in Morocco. We have an agency of higher education, of quality assurance and evaluation in higher education. But this agency is very young. This is it is established. It is established in 7 years ago. And this agency is focused in the evaluation of programs and institutional evaluation and research. And the work achieved by this agency is very important for the improvement of the quality in the higher education in Morocco.
In India, we have a agency like NAC, National Accreditation Assessment Council.
Yes.
So that's a national level. So India, they assess the quality level of each and every higher education institutions. And I think this is something like this in your state.
Yes. This is a national agency. We have 20 universities in Morocco, and this agency has responsibility to assess and to evaluate the quality in all institutions in higher education in Morocco.
Jayanta, you see anybody has written any question on the box?
No, sir, I'm searching.
Okay, thank you very much for this opportunity to participate in this important webinar, and I hope we can have opportunity to invite you in another webinar organized in Morocco.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Naji. We'll see. Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Bye. Jayanta, you can introduce and Blanco and invite him for presentation.
Professor Blanco, sir. Thank you, Nazi sir, for your nice presentation, and you have shared your experiences regarding this topic, and also explain all about the higher education system in your state, as well as just a comparison with our education system and post-pandemic situation of higher education. And we are very happy that you shared your compelling thoughts and past experiences and deep knowledge regarding this topic with all the participants and us. So thank you on behalf of the organizing committee. I once again appreciate your cooperation with us. Thank you, sir. If possible, I request you to be with us to the tail end of the end, till the end of the webinar, please, sir. Now, as per agenda, I would like to request and welcome our third resource person of this webinar, whom we invited. So I would like to introduce before the participants, respected participants, as I have said earlier, that whenever we choose a resource person for any academic discussion, and we take people those are really resourceful in that field and can be the icons and role model for our participants. So I am proud and happy that Dr. Gerardo El Blanco has agreed to be present with us today in this virtual platform as one of our speakers. Dr. Gerardo El Blanco is an associate professor of higher education and associate director of the Center for International Higher Education at Boston College, USA. His research explores the intersections of quality and internationalization of higher education. A Fulbright specialist and a past Erasmus and teaching fellow. His professional activities have taken place in 14 countries and 5 continents. So friends, without further delay, I would like to welcome Dr. Gerardo Blanco to deliver his speech on this vital topic. So may I request Professor Gerardo Blanco to deliver his speech. Please, sir, please take your time now.
Good evening, namaste. It's such a pleasure to be with all of you this evening. And first, I want to thank the distinguished directors of both colleges. And in a very special way, I want to thank Professor Ramakanta Mohalik for the kind invitation. It's amazing what the current technologies can do, and we can be in contact across great distances in ways that maybe even before COVID-19 we couldn't be, because some of these events weren't as common back then. I also want to thank both presenters who have gone ahead of me. I think it's going to be very difficult to follow Dr. Naji's presentation, because all I would like to say is I agree with everything that he has shared. His perspective on the importance of improvement is certainly something that I absolutely agree with. So instead of trying to repeat what has been already said, what I would like to do is instead focusing on some of the strategies, looking at the US example as some of the challenges that we may encounter in the future. So again, it is a delight to be with all of you. And as I said, greetings from Boston, from the Center for International Higher Education at Boston College. As I mentioned, I'll provide a quick overview of what has happened in the United States, but also what could be the way forward. In terms of the big picture concepts, I would like to associate myself with the comments that Dr. Naji has made in this very platform. I really think that the considerations that he has shared are really important. And I hope I can just add some ideas to bring some of those concepts to life. Very briefly, I think I should tell you a little bit about my own academic interests, right? And first and foremost, I would say it really is the intersection of the study of higher education, the study of comparative and international education, as well as the study of quality and assessment. And I really think in the middle of these three different concepts, we can find some important insights. But I really think I would be remiss to begin this presentation without kind of reminding all of us that COVID has represented a significant disruption to our activities. And I think one of the challenges, as Dr. Naji has mentioned before me, is the idea of inequality. And I really think that it's not that, that COVID has introduced no inequality, but rather it has made us more aware of the existing inequalities. And these inequalities are not only across countries. In arguably one of the one of the countries with the highest income, like the United States, we are seeing rampant ignorance about people unwilling to wear a mask or a face cover, for example. So we really see here that unfortunately ignorance does not know, it's not a matter of money or resources. I also think that in the United States, we have been confronted with the existing inequalities within the country. So for example, there are many parts of the United States that do not have access to broadband internet access, where students, for example, may be too poor or too housing or food insecure to worry, for example, to connect to online lessons when they are worried about where they're going to live or where their next meal is going to come from. So I really think that COVID is introducing some very significant concerns. We really need to rethink what globalization means for all of us, as well as what are some of the implications for learning going forward. So one of the things that, we need to keep in mind is that in general, students are less satisfied with courses that have been converted online. And you don't need to take my word for it. There is very recent research that suggests this, right? That the same courses, this research was conducted in one university over, the course of several years, and they compared student evaluation scores from the face-to-face version, and then the same course was converted to an online course. And consistently, these researchers found that satisfaction among students, this is not student learning or this is not student scores, but their evaluation of the course and their evaluation of the instructors dropped when the course was converted online. And I think this should really invite us all to think about what are we going to do to try and offset or make up for this drop in satisfaction among students. And here I really think the words of my colleague Robin Grenier might be important, as she is a professor at the University of Connecticut, and she refers to COVID-19 as a phenomenon where we were doing what we could with what we had from where we were. And I really think this very phrase captures some of the challenges that we have within COVID-19, which is significant disruptions have happened for our colleagues who are parents and who have children. Balancing family life with work life has been increasingly difficult. for several weeks in the beginning of the crisis, we were worried about whether we ourselves would be encountering situations of food shortages because the global supply chain had been disrupted. You know, many of us didn't get much notice. In my university, the announcement of the closure took place when we were on vacation, when we were on holiday. So suddenly we couldn't return to our offices on campus, for instance. So many of our books, we had to find places in our homes to convert into some kind of home office. We had to scramble because our books were in the office and we didn't have access to the university. So there were some significant limitations to our ability to produce good quality experiences for our students, and we had to finish the semester facing all of these challenges. So certainly COVID has been what I would like to describe as a perfect storm. Because there were not certainly, and I'm referring here to American universities, we did not have the kind of support and rewards to encourage lecturers and professors to do all the necessary extra work to convert our courses online. In many of our cases, technology was unreliable. So depending on where we live, we may have access to different quality of internet access. And also, many of our colleagues, as you know, for many of us, the technology itself can represent a challenge, right? And how many times have we been in a webinar or meeting where we forget to unmute ourselves, right? I know it happens to me all the time. Sometimes we struggle to share our screens. There are all of these challenges with the technology that keeps changing. But also, this is something that we were not prepared to do. And it's also something that requires a lot of additional work that goes without additional compensation, right? So these are all some very significant challenges now that we all are incorporating some kind of online component. Here in the United States, for instance, the crisis is still not under control. So most universities are going to some either completely online or, like my university, Boston College, we are having a hybrid model where some courses will be offered online and a smaller number of courses will be offered in person. So what are some of the recommendations that we could consider to improve the quality of experience in online learning? First of all, we need to find as many ways as we can to increase the contact between students and faculty. And by faculty, I'm referring to lecturers and professors. And I really think that because face-to-face interaction is not safe in many cases, we need to find ways to connect with each other through technology. But also we need to recognize that it can be very tiring to spend a long time online. So we need to find other ways. And I know that our colleagues in India, for instance, may find some instant messaging applications like WhatsApp and other forms of communication, group texts or group discussions to be ways of connecting with students. We also need to encourage cooperation among students. We need to encourage active learning, providing feedback to students, but also, and here is a significant challenge, we need to make sure that students are spending time engaging with the content that we are sharing. And this is very difficult to do when we are working remotely, right? Because, for instance, one of the initial reactions to converting courses online, it has been recording lectures. The problem with that is that we can spend a lot of time developing a very good lecture, recording it, making it available to our students. But if the students don't spend the time listening at least to that recording, then we are not having the learning that needs to take place really happening. So that can be an important challenge to face. I also want to emphasize that online education can be of the same or even better quality than face-to-face. I really think that the expectations that we set are very important, right? So if we come to some kind of hybrid or online teaching experience, assuming that this is never going to be as good as being in person, then that's going to be true. I really think we need to strive to provide the best quality that we can to our students. But also, we need to create different options for our students to learn according to their different learning styles. I don't want to go into detail in the next few slides here, because instead I would like to refer you to the websites. These are completely available, they're open to the public, but I'm referring to data that comes from this organization called Quality Matters. And this Quality Matters provides some templates and some standards for assuring the quality of online learning. So instead of reading the screen for you, I would encourage you to check out these resources on your own, because you can see that the strategies that they encourage to follow to improve the quality of online learning are very, very similar to the strategies that we would use face-to-face, right? Really, regardless of what access we have to technology, the learning experience is only going to be as good as the materials that we are sharing with the students, and as high as the time that students are spending with these learning materials. As well, the California State University system has developed some standards for quality of online learning and teaching. But as you can see here as well, right, it is really all about the instructor's feedback, the instructor's interaction with students, and the environment that we create. Right, so I don't like to just to return to Professor Naji's comments earlier. We need to move away from a culture of compliance, right? These are not boxes that we need to tick, but rather these are overarching ideas that should be inspiring all of our teaching and learning in general. Also, just very briefly, I wanted to refer to how we can understand quality in different ways. But here, I really want to go to this last definition in the list that our colleagues Harvey and Newton have shared, which is this idea of quality as transformation. And I really think it's important to think about how we think of different conceptions of quality and how we move away from a culture of compliance into a culture of improvement and transformation, because ultimately that is what we want for our students. So here I am borrowing from concepts that Elkin and Stensacker published recently as they try to conceptualize quality work. And I hope this will provide a way to move forward as we think about the future of higher education after COVID-19. So more and more, the reason to do quality assurance is no longer going to be complying with standards, but rather we need to balance multiple different expectations. And I really think COVID-19 is confronting us with the challenge of balancing what governments are requiring of universities, what students and their families need from us, but also balancing the different expectations of the different actors within the within the university. We need to also move to a notion of quality that is no longer static, but rather a notion of quality that is negotiated and dynamic. I would argue that in the present moment, we need to move to a notion of quality where we make sure not only that the students are learning what they need, but that they also are receiving a sense of connection with each other and a sense of care from us during this time of crisis. If we only make sure that the students can pass a test, I think we are failing in our role. Our role as educators is also contributing to the well-being of our students, because this is a time of great uncertainty. Many of our graduates, because we are facing a financial crisis, many of our students are facing the prospects of unemployment upon graduation. So we need to be here to support them. We also need to be very pragmatic, right? Any kind of hard ideological notions need to be set aside, and we need to respond to the current challenges as they emerge. But also, we need to be able to be flexible with our outcomes, and we also need to be able to be very flexible with the decision making. The ideas that just come from the top about higher education are not going to work. We need to make sure that we are empowering actors across our colleges and universities. So the way forward, right, is that I really believe that the global is going to be, as we are facing increasing movements of xenophobia across the West in particular, the global sphere of higher education will be seen not only as a threat, but as a source of threats. I really think if there has ever been a time where we stop our obsession with competition, I think COVID-19 is providing us with that opportunity. I really think it's important that we move from competition to collaboration. And then finally, I really think that we need to be open to inhabit the university in different ways. So these are the very simple ideas I wanted to share with you. I hope they will encourage dynamic conversation, having some questions. I also would like to invite you to stay connected. My email is listed here. Also, if you would like to connect on LinkedIn, my contact information is here as well. So I really want to thank you all for your attention, and I look forward to engaging in a very dynamic discussion with all of you.
Jayanta. Yes.
Thank you, sir, for your nice presentation, and you have covered all the points up to this topic. Really outstanding, and I believe that all the participants have benefited from your nice presentation and deliberation. And now I request all the participants to put their query, if any, regarding.
Jayanta, you see the chat box, or if somebody has written any question, you can ask.
Yes, sir. Yes, I am checking it.
Like Dr. Blanco, I have a question I want to learn from you. like, what kind of quality assurance mechanism are placed in your state or
Hello.
your university?
Hello.
Yes, it is audible.
Okay, sir. Jayant,
Yes,
sir.
audible.
May I audible?
Yes.
Okay, my question
Yes,
is
sir.
with Gardo Blanco, sir. He is listening?
Yes, you go
Yes,
ahead.
yes, proceed, please.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
sir.
Yes.
Sir, it is my pleasure to talk with you. I am Roshan Kumar Mishra from India. Your PPTs and presentation was marvelous. My first question with you is that what is the US doing to start the education after pandemic? As I heard from the social media that the 96 students in USA entrapped positive due to COVID-19 within 2 weeks. And the next one is that what is your way of imparting quality education to the students? Thank you.
Thank you very much for your question. I appreciate it, and I think maybe what I will say may shock all of you, because in the United States so even though we have a federal, central Department of Education, the Department of Education does not have authority or control over universities. We have an extremely decentralized education system. So every state is doing something different, which probably explains why we are facing so many significant challenges. Also, within the United States, there is significant differences from state to state in the level of resources that the state governments have, for instance, but also the amount of resources that public and private universities have. So in short, so the short answer to your very important question is every university is doing something different based on their needs and their possibilities, and every school district, and those are governed by the governments of each of the 50 different states in the US, are doing something different. So it's almost like we have 50 different countries, at least, in many, many different responses. Now, how do we assure the quality during this special period? So because we have such a decentralized system for universities and colleges in the US, we have 6 different regional accrediting agencies, right? And because the geographic divisions are based on location, many of the regions are similar to each other, and the crisis of COVID is also playing out in similar regions, right? So in Massachusetts, where I live, where Boston College is located, we are part of this region that we call New England. So COVID-19 hit here very early, but now, for the most part, is under control, whereas other parts of the country are having very serious problems right now. So this decentralized system makes sense because we don't have to compare ourselves to a national benchmark, but we can make decisions based on the immediate region surrounding us. But other than that, most universities are just making decisions independently, sometimes in collaboration with other universities, but there is very limited, to be quite frank, very limited oversight from any level of government at this time.
Okay, Dr. Blanco, I have one question I want to ask you. So what kind of quality mechanism, what kind of institutional mechanism is placed for assuring quality in teacher education in your university or in your state?
Thank you, Sarah. That's a great question. So at Boston College, at my institution, we have a school of education, the Lynch School of Education and Human Development, and of course, the majority of our students are in that teacher preparation, right? So the way it works is that the whole institution, of course, needs to be accredited within the New England region. But in addition to that, the School of Education needs to comply with, so our state or province is Massachusetts, right? So the state of Massachusetts has a number of standards, and they need to offer a periodic review every several years of a number of things, right? They need to see the quality of the faculty who teach at the university. They evaluate, of course, the content of the different courses, but also in order to do the internship for teaching, right? The practical aspect of becoming a teacher, before the students do that, they need to pass the state examination, which is, we call it the MTEL, right? So if, for example, there is a school of education where many of the students are completing their courses, but they're failing the MTEL, that would cause serious concerns, right? So it is a holistic review of the quality of the professors. It's also outcomes-based because it is based on how many students are actually passing the state exam. But then also we do a lot of follow-up of, well, when somebody completes their degree, when they graduate, where do they work, right? Are they finding jobs? Are they staying in the teaching profession a few years after they have graduated? What happens with those students, right? So that demonstrates that we have moved more to an outcomes-based evaluation.
Thank you. Because many things we want to, listen from you, from your university. So in India, we have for maintaining quality in teacher education. In India, we have a National Council for Teacher Education at a central level agency, which inspects and gives recognition, even sometimes withdraw the recognition also. Do you have such kind of agency, or you manage it everything locally or university level, either like that?
Yeah, we have both, right? So to become a teacher, right, and to be able to what we call the teacher license, that comes from the state, and that varies from state to state, which sometimes can cause a problem if a student attends university in one state and then they go and work in another, right? They need to do that process in a different state. But also we have a system of accreditation for education programs. And this has been changing over time. It used to be two different ones, two different agencies. Professor, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. Yes, so very briefly, we do have a council for accreditation of education programs. So that's, we also have this national level, but it is, what's interesting is that it is not a government agency. It is a self-organized, self-coordinated organization. Like all of the accreditation systems in the United States, it's all based on peers. It's not a compliance from the government, but rather it is an evaluation of peers.
Since we are facing this pandemic situation, and in our teacher education, we have an internship program. And in India, like even from our institute and from the university nearby, we are not able to send our students for a school internship. And now we are thinking to provide this internship through online, because many of these schools, they are also running online classes, and still we are not able to go in that way to provide the internship in an online mode. So do you have any such plan?
Yes, I wish I could say that we have any words of wisdom to share in that regard. I think we are facing exactly the same problems that you describe. Institutions of higher education, teacher preparation programs, we are also scrambling to figure out how can we provide that experience, because we know that schools and school teachers could really benefit from some help from students to do their internships. But at the same time, just coordinating the logistics of that when everybody would need to be working remotely is proving to be very challenging. So similar problems, but not very many solutions. I think we all are trying to be as creative as we can to provide solutions to this problem, but it really is a very serious problem indeed.
Thank you, sir. Just I have taken two questions from the chat box. I'd like to put forward to you, sir. One question is from Dr. Sudipta Chakraborty. She say, could you kindly suggest some practical steps that educational planner and policy maker can adopt for making online education easily accessible to students living in geographically isolated areas, sir?
That's a great question and a very good consideration. And this is actually something that I would like to respond to, because we had a similar problem here in the US. We sort of assumed that because some or even the majority of our students have access to internet access, you can run Zoom like this, for example, on a computer, but also on a cell phone. We thought, well, this is very good access for everybody. And what I would say is, let's be very mindful. We don't have to use the most advanced technology all of the time, right? So for example, it's an amazing technology to have Zoom. It makes sense if we are having an interactive session like what we are having right now, but I would say not everybody may have access to this, right? I would go as far as saying here in the US, we actually had some students where, or rather who have access, who could run Zoom, but what they don't have is a private space where they can join a call, right? Because they live with families, some of them are parents, right? They don't have the attention, right, to be in a space free of distractions where they can spend an hour even, or even half an hour talking with a group, right? So what I would encourage us all to think is, let's use the synchronous, right, like this meeting, opportunities to a limited extent, and let's try to do let's try to have access to discussions, to materials in ways that don't require, right? So for example, if I'm just going to be doing a presentation and reading a particular script, I could circulate that on email or on a WhatsApp conversation, right? Or we could have an ongoing WhatsApp conversation over several days in a way that wouldn't require meeting for even a limited amount of time, right? Because if students are having to have meetings for every class that they take, that means they're spending probably 5 or 6 hours during every day in similar meetings. And let's not forget that some students have family responsibilities. Some of them also have part-time or even full-time work. So they are already spending a lot of time on screens, right? So I would say let's make decisions, not because we have access to a particular technology, it means it's a good idea to use it all the time, right? And let's use it when there is a purpose for that.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That's you have nicely addressed the question, and I hope that the participants who put their question has get the answer as he or she expected. So another questions I have collected from the chat box that that is from Vidyasagar Kumar. So I'd like to put forward this question to you. Why research works do less impact on current situation of educational standards?
I'm sorry, would you mind repeating the question, please?
Yes, sure. Question is as he written as why research works do less impact on current situation of educational standards?
Yeah, that's such a good and insightful question, right? I think one of the challenges that we have right now, that we are facing right now, is the problem that COVID-19 has really presented a big disruption to research activities as well, right? On the one hand, we all have less time to conduct research because we are spending the majority of our work time to move our courses online or to interact with students in an online platform, right? Or preparing for the next term and converting courses online, right? So we have less time for research. And then I think there is this very interesting phenomenon where it would appear that that COVID-19, that the current crisis is also making us think of all of our research. Like suddenly we all are researching the effects or the impacts of COVID-19, right? So some of our ongoing long-term research projects have been put on hold or set aside because we all need to see what's happening with COVID-19. And like one of my older and wiser colleagues has put it, at some point we need to continue the work that we were doing before the crisis because we really don't know yet what are the effects, right? So I think this is a really good meeting to have a discussion about the practical short-term implications, but we really don't know how this is going to change higher education going forward right now. It's probably going to be in maybe 2 or 3 years where we can look back and really make some authoritative claims about what the future or how COVID-19 is changing higher education and education in general. I think right now we're still a little too close to the phenomenon to have a full understanding of its implications.
Thank you so much. There is another questions, but before going to these questions, I request Mr. Inkunat, if you have, if you see any questions in the YouTube live, because there are so many participants are joining in YouTube due to the due to the less number of seats in our Zoom platform, because only for 500 participants we accommodate. So I request Mr. Inkunat to collect questions from the YouTube live. So before coming to him, so, sir, I would like to put another questions forwarded by asking by Pranav Zuti Borua. He asks, sir, how the online examinations will be more effective in the countries like India? Actually, I think you are not right person to say about India, but you can suggest. I think you can suggest how online examinations
certainly, sir.
Effective. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Well,
Please proceed.
so there are different ways, right? Like my answer to that would be, first and foremost, there are some technologies of what we call online proctoring, right? Those tend to be very expensive. Not all universities have the ability to make that kind of investment. And what they do is the examination happens online. There is a way of detecting any other signals or any other windows, right? So to make sure that the students are not cheating, right? Like that they're not finding information from another source while they're answering. And there is somebody in, like we are right now, watching the students, right? To see if they're actually answering the questions or if they are looking for additional information or if somebody else is doing that. My response would say, and maybe here I'm revealing my my own training as, you know, as an educationalist, is that there are some cases where examinations are absolutely necessary, right? I would imagine that, for instance, if you know, like for example, if somebody's studying to become a doctor, I would want them to memorize all of the bones and muscles of the body, right? Like I probably wouldn't be comfortable going to a doctor who wouldn't know that basic knowledge, right? On the other hand, for many of us, there are other ways of meaningful assessment that go beyond an examination, right? So in my very specific field of higher education, oftentimes a research project or a report or even a presentation can be a more meaningful and more complete way to evaluate student learning than an examination, right? So yes, it is possible, and we have the technology to do online proctoring in a way that that is effective and that we can ensure that students are not engaging in any kind of academic misbehavior. But I would say that that is not the only answer. Maybe we also could be more creative in the kind of assessments that we utilize to engage students, right? Because as we know from Bloom's taxonomy of learning, recalling information, memorizing, is only one of the most basic levels of learning. We want to move the students to go higher in the scale to achieve the application and the deeper understanding of content, right? So it's more important to see what students are able to do with the knowledge than just being able to repeat something.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Now I request all the participants, due to time limitations, we cannot continue this question and answer session. Still, I request the participants to put one or two questions directly. Okay, they can. Please raise your hand so that we can allow you to unmute yourself.
Okay, Janto Kolita, I have picked some questions from YouTube Live. So should I present it?
Please proceed.
Okay.
Yes, please proceed.
Mr. Horidas Jogdankar, he asks how to provide online education to poor, low-income families and under poverty line students in India, whereas India have 39 students under poverty line families. So I repeat the question, how to provide online education to poor and low-income families under poverty line students in India.
Yes, that's a crucial consideration. We need to make sure that as we move forward, right, with this crisis, that we don't leave students behind. That's an important principle, right? And I would say, let's and sadly, I have yet to be to India, right? So I'm no expert in the local context, but I'm sure you all are, and I'm sure you all have a sense of what are the technologies, right, that those students have access to. And I think increasingly, just considering my experience here in the United States and in my home country of Mexico, I know that access to communication and information technologies is very common, right? Like it doesn't mean that everybody has access to. The divide is more a generational divide than an economic divide. So for example, yes, only probably middle class and higher students have access to a computer. But we know that, for example, even people below poverty lines have access to cell phones. We know that many students living in poverty are active in some form of social media access. Well, we don't need to bring the students to our media, right? We don't need to have them accessing Moodle and Blackboard and sophisticated learning management systems or even Zoom conferencing systems. Maybe we can bring some of that content to the social media and the platforms that they're already using. If we are able to do that, then I think we can be successful. Also, we may want to think, what of these technologies, right? How many of these technologies could be shared, right? Like, could we share in ways that people don't need to have their own private devices to have access to these? And I think here, again, it's the creativity and ingenuity that can help us move forward during this time of crisis.
Thank you, sir. Another question is put forward in YouTube live chat box. So the question is regarding the effect on research work. So the question is put by Sobita Das. So she asks how research work may be continued during this pandemic time.
Yeah, I mean, I really think that's a great question and a significant challenge right now. Some universities in the US, as you probably are familiar with our system, we have a very stringent system of promotion and tenure, right? So starting faculty members are hired as an assistant professor, and they are evaluated after 6 years of work. As to whether they will be promoted. But if you're not promoted to the next level, you lose your job, right? Like you are fired after a year. That's a very high stakes process, right? It causes a lot of stress. And the benchmark to be promoted is usually research productivity, right? Grants, books, contracts, articles, and so on. Many universities in the US have made the decision based on this time of crisis to extend for a full year the time to be evaluated, right? So everybody is getting an extra year so that they can catch up with the research, because everybody recognizes that this has been a significant disruption. Here, I also want to emphasize what we know from journals, which this crisis is affecting us all, but it's not affecting us all the same way. It is affecting women in a particular way, especially women who have children. And I think for that reason, it's important that we have a conversation within our universities, within our different fields of studies, to recognize the impact that this has on parents, especially parents of young children, right? Because that can be very difficult, and we wouldn't want to unfairly evaluate somebody negatively because the crisis is affecting everybody's productivity in a negative way.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, Inkunat, for collecting the questions from YouTube live. So due to time limitations, I have seen that many questions are putting by the participants in chat box and also in YouTube. But due to, we apologize that due to time limitations, we cannot continue this session of question and answer. Please, sorry for that. And I appreciate the presentation of Professor Blanco, who accepted our invitations and beautifully presented his deliberation and addressed all the questions very beautifully. And I hope and believe that all the participants of our this webinar have benefited and enlightened from your deliberation. Thank you, sir. I request you to be with us because within a short time our webinar will be ended. And I hope I'll meet you again in future discourses. So before it's the last part of the webinar. So now it's the time of presidential address. Before welcome to request to presidential address of Professor Mohalik. I would like to introduce him, though it is late due to some technical problems. That is our first resource person. He has urgent meeting, so I managed this time for him. So I'm extremely sorry that I could not before introducing Professor Mohalik. I just request him to take this share of this webinar. So participants, you know, I would like to introduce Professor Mohalik. Sir has started his career in teaching as assistant professor and has been working in Regional Institute of Education, Bhubaneswar, in different capacities, and promoted to Professor of Education in April 2019. Presently, working as a Professor of Education in the Department of Education, RIE, Bhubaneswar. He has supervised many MA Education MPhil dissertations till date. 9 scholars have been awarded PhD in Education under his guidance from different universities of India. Professor Mohalik has a credit of 60+ research publications in different national and international journals and completed 6 major research projects funded by the NCERT. He has continuously involved in service training of teachers of KVS, NVS, DPS, DAP, and different state governments, and coordinated many training programs for teachers and teacher educators. Professor Mohalik has delivered lectures in the national and international seminars, webinars, conferences, workshops as resource person, and share keynote speaker, address, etc. He has delivered lectures and conducted workshops in the faculty development programs organized by different universities and institutions in India. He has been involved in examining MPhil and PhD theses in education of different universities and institutions. He is a member of Board of Studies in different universities and member of Department Research Committee, DRC, of Education of Utkal University. At present, Professor Mohalik is working on online learning and assessment in school education, teacher education, and higher education. So with this brief introduction, I would like to request Professor Mohalik, sir, for his presidential address. Please, sir, over to you.
So thank you very much, Mr. Joyant. So once again, I express my sincere thanks to the organizer of the webinar, and I am also very happy to be part of the great webinar where 3 speakers are from abroad, and I am also thankful to all the speakers who deliberated in depth about different quality issues of education, school education, teacher education, and higher education. And I express my sincere thanks to Dr. Blanco, I think, who has spent a lot of time with us and given a wonderful discussion, answering, and it has clarified. After listening to all the 3 speakers, initially Dr. Professor Fajal had given a brief introduction about the educational situation, the educational context in Jordan. So he is a man of Jordan who work in different capacity, even as a capacity of minister. So he's given the experience and idea how the COVID has impacted the Jordan education system. And the second speaker, like Dr. Najib, has elaborated the educational, mainly the quality aspect of school education and higher education. Dr. Naji has given a very philosophical discussion on the quality. He has given a very, what is quality? Quality has, different connotation. Quality is multidimensional. Quality can be defined by different people differently. Quality has different levels. I can say quality can be, we can think of quality at the international level. Quality can be national level. Quality can be state level. He has given a very wonderful deliberation on the concept of quality, the dimensions of quality. He has also suggested, like, there are latest models for quality assurance in higher education. And I like very much, the idea that he has presented, from, from accountability to improvements. So traditionally, our quality is relating to accountability. But he has given an idea like quality should be linked to improvement of higher education. And the last speaker, like Blanco, has given a wonderful idea, has a very detailed presentation, and the presentation mainly based on the research. He has not spoken anything on one, very evidence-based, reference-based presentation, and which is exemplar presentation. Many of the participants, those who are attending this program, they can take it as one of the ideal presentation. We should learn from it. And finally, at the end, since they've narrated the context in Jordan, context in Middle East, and the situation in America, but we are organizing a webinar on quality assurance in higher education. So therefore, I have to take maybe 10 minutes to speak on quality assurance in higher education, and particularly the India. I am agree with Dr. Naji and Blanco, who said quality is a very complex issue. It is very difficult to explain quality. It is difficult to define the quality, because quality is a philosophical concept. Quality is a relative concept. Quality can be at different levels, and therefore, it is very difficult to define quality. Still, quality is very closely associated to our education. If you think of education, everybody is talking about quality education. I have given example like the new education policy 2020. If you read, the first page of the new education policy, where the higher education was listed, it was written there, the aim of government is to provide quality higher education to each and every individual, each and every student, those who are getting enrolled. And therefore, quality is highlighted. Quality is focused in the present new education policy. Even for your information, like in India, the government of India has taken a lot of initiatives to bring quality, to maintain quality, to to develop the quality. So we have mainly two kinds of mechanism, to assure quality at the higher education level. One is internal quality mechanism, another is the external quality mechanism. So I can say we can have an internal quality assurance, another is external quality assurance. All of you, if you are from university and colleges, you are all familiar with NAAC, National Assessment and Accreditation Council. NAAC is a external quality assurance mechanism. All the university, all the colleges, we are trying to accredited by the NAAC, and NAAC has certain parameters. The parameter, if you can look it, the parameter can be the curriculum, parameter can be students' result, parameter can be research and innovation, parameter can be the quality of faculty, the faculty publications, faculty patents, that faculty, maybe any kind of product. So they have seven parameters that is given by the NAC, and all the universities and colleges in India, they are trying to accredit, trying to assess by the NAC. This is something external. So external means, this is something external body which is assessing our education, like, they are giving suggestion, they are giving comments, so that, so that we can, from the university and college, we can improve our quality. My main aim of this quality assurance or main aim of quality assessment is to improve the educational institution, to improve the like higher education, to improve the college education. Main one is not to find out, the weakness in the existing higher education institution, but the target is to improve it, to enhance the quality. And similarly, almost all the university and colleges, they have an internal quality assurance. Every college, every university. The intention is, quality. When you think of quality, it is something external. Dr. Naji was suggesting, when quality is something external, that means, we want to show, we want to produce to the external agency, this is something you want, and we have everything. And once you NAC certify something, then the college will do as usual. So this is something, negative aspect of external quality mechanism. And therefore the UGC, directed all the educational institution to set up a internal quality assurance mechanism. So internal quality assurance mechanism continuously will assess our education system. Continuously, every day, every month, every activity of the higher education institution will be assessed, and thereby the internal quality assurance or mechanism can help the institution in the improvement. So NAC only NAC certifies, but internal quality mechanism help us improvement. And therefore, I suggest all the university faculty and the college faculty, we should work very rigorously and very, effectively for internal quality assurance. I think this is also emphasized in the in new education policy 2020, and which is recommended to give autonomy to each and every higher education institution. The policy recommended the affiliation system will go. Now university will not affiliate the colleges. The colleges will be given the autonomy to design their syllabus, autonomy to teach, autonomy to conduct examination gradually. The target is maybe within 10-15 years, all the colleges will be given autonomy to, give the or to manage their college affair or university affair, and to grant the degree. I think this is something internal quality mechanism will be placed in each and every colleges. And therefore, now the time has come to, work very effectively for internal mechanism, for internal quality assurance. Then only we can do it. And another point I will in India, even government of India, and introduce another external quality assurance mechanism. I cannot say it is a mechanism, but all of you are familiar with the national institutional ranking framework. National institutional ranking framework. Every year, the government of India, or there is an agency, NIRF. Every year they conduct a survey, they collect the data from each and every higher education institution, and they grade each and every institution on certain parameters. They have certain parameters, there are 4 or 5 parameters are there, they grade it. So that is also, the intention is to grade the institution, to to find out their weakness, to suggest them for improvement. This is the intention is to assure the quality of higher educational institution, national institutional ranking framework. You know that many universities are there, many colleges are there, you know, they are ranked under certain criteria, certain guidelines. Similarly, even when talking about quality, something relative, something international. When you're talking about quality at the international level, there is a world university ranking. World university ranking. And I should tell you, and I think maybe many of you may be aware of it. Like, you know, world university ranking, very few institutions from India, they are under the world university ranking. If I can remember, the rank of Indian Institute of Science is 185. The first rank is given to MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, the first world rank #1 institute in higher education. And the second one is Stanford University. These are all America. Harvard University, this is also America, third. In India, we have some IIT and Institute of Science that is in Bangalore, 185. So from this you can see, if you compare the education or our educational standard or our quality standard with the, you know, maybe world level, so we may find we are lagging behind. And with this context, though, you know, the government of India, the new education policy has suggested many recommendations, new recommendations, and all recommendation is in
Voice is not coming, sir. Your voice is not coming.
Malik sir.
Everybody
sir.
should read it and try to, yes. Everybody
Yes, sir. Now
should read
clear.
We should try to I was suggesting all the people, those who are listening, we should read the like, you know, the new education policy, because we are part and parcel of the implementation of new education policy. And if you want to bring a quality improvement in higher education, all the faculty members, all the students, we should discharge our duty, we should discharge our responsibility. Then only we can assure a quality higher education in India. It may be university, it may be college. Maybe after 30 years, the Majavad College will be a degree granting college. So you will not be, you know, like, you know, you will not be like, you know, getting affiliation from university. You can grant the degree, and therefore this will not come automatically. We have to work together, we have to work hard, then only we can maintain a quality. So with this, once again, I uh, uh, thank the organizer, and especially Mr. Joyens and Dr. Dipankar and the principal of both the colleges for giving this opportunity to speak and to collaborate with you in the international webinar. And this is really, in a true sense, it's an international webinar, because the resource persons are from outside. And I have seen many participants are there. They also join our webinar today. I think this is one of the successful webinar. I should say all the best to both the colleges, and for a future, in future also we'll work together, and we can have a maybe more better webinar like this. Thank you once again, all of you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir, for your nice speech as a chairperson of this webinar. Within a short time, you have covered all the points regarding this topic and mentions all aspects of the especially on this topic, post-pandemic quality assurance, and you have mentioned about the quality assurance of higher education in India, especially. So thank you once again for giving your valuable time and sharing your experiences with us. And this is the time of vote of thanks. Now I request Dr. Dipankar Malakar, Joint Coordinator of this webinar from Sapekati College. Please, Dr. Dipankar Malakar, please proceed. Over to you. Your camera is.
Please rotate the camera.
Please rotate the camera. Your picture is in.
Please rotate your device.
Please rotate your device.
I don't hear you.
Sir, hello. Sir, please rotate your device, sir.
Camera ulta hai, sir. Mantu ulta hai, sir. Apuna mantu ulta hai, sir. Camera.
Hello. Ready?
Sir, again it is rotating.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. On behalf of the organizing committee, I, Dr. Dipankar Malakar, would like to offer a vote of thanks. This is the second time that Department of Education, Sapekati College has organized webinar in collaboration with Department of Education in Masbad College. Earlier webinar was national, but this time we have organized international webinar in support of the IQs of both colleges. Finally, we have successfully completed the international webinar also. Now this is the time to offer vote of thanks. First of all, we would like to offer heartfelt thanks to today's keynote speaker, respected Dr. Ramakanta Mahalik sir, Professor of RIE Bhubaneswar under MCERT. Sir, we will be always grateful to you and your friendly cooperation and helping hand. We would also like to offer vote of thanks and heartiest thanks to Professor Abdinajan Nadri, President of IFEAS Middle East and North Africa. Sir, we have got a lots of encouragement from your fruitful speech. We would also like to offer our sincere thanks to Dr. Gerardo Blanco, Department of Education Associate Professor, Center for International Higher Education at Boston College, Lynch School, University of Massachusetts. Sir, we will never forget that in spite of your busy schedule, you have agreed to spare your valuable time for making our webinar great success. We are very thankful to Professor Faisal Al-Rauf, Department of Education, York University, Canada. Sir, it is our good luck and great opportunity that the great educationist like you has delivered the valuable speech in our international webinar. Sir, we are very grateful to you. We are also thankful to Dr. Kanaklata Kumar, Principal in charge, Sapekari College. Madam, we are very happy that though only few months are left for your retirement, but still you have given full support and cooperation in organizing the webinar. We are also very grateful to Dr. Pradip Kumar Sharma sir, Principal Masbat College, for his cooperation and support. We are also thankful to Tulumunu Satya ma'am, Head of the Department of Education, Sapekari College, for her suggestion and support. We are very thankful to Mr. Jayanta Kolita sir, Head of the Department of Education, Masbat College, and joint convener today's international webinar. He is the vital person for making the webinar grand success. Without him, it was quite impossible for us to organize the webinar. So, thank you once again, Jayanta Kolita sir. We are also thankful to Mr. Arnav Setia, technical assistant today's webinar. He was the key person in this program. Without him, it is also impossible to make the webinar grand success. We are also thankful to Mr. Manas Kalita, Head of the Department of Economics, Madbat College. Mrs. Minoti Patwari, Department of Political Science, Masbat College, and Biziad Baghdadi, Coordinator, IQC Masbat College. At last, but not least, we are very, very thankful to participants, the faculties, research scholars, and the students of various colleges and universities. Now, I would like to hand over the platform to Mr. Jayanta Kolita, sir, to continue the rest of the session. Thank you very much. Over to Jayanta Kolita.
Please unmute yourself.
Thank you, Dr. Dipankar Malaka, sir, for your nice words to our respected resource person and to the participants also, as well as to all the organizing committee members. I also offer put up thanks to you because you are also a vital part of this webinar, and you have been doing continuous support to organize this webinar from the planning of this webinar till now. So thank you, Dr. Dipankar Malaka, for your support. And on behalf of the Masbat College fraternity, I would like to thank to all our today's resource person, Professor Faisal sir, Professor Nazi sir, Professor Blanco sir. Instead of your busy schedule, you have shared your valuable time with us, and we are very lucky to listen you today's in this international webinar. So I am very happy that I have seen many messages come in the chat box, and all the participants are very happy, and they are giving us so many appreciating messages to you, and also to us that this is another wonderful and successful webinar from our college.
we have already arranged including today 48 numbers of webinar during this crisis, and this is I think this is another important and very successful webinar. This is because of your participation. This is because of your presentation. This is because of your support. So on behalf of the organizing committee, I once again thank you all. And before concluding, I would like to thank Professor Mohalik, who is the key person who helped us to contact our today's most respected and stupendous resource persons to invite from abroad and to share to give the opportunity to listen them in this platform. So thank you, Professor Mohalik, sir. Before concluding, I would like to give an announcement, because we have tomorrow we have an Independence Day celebration. So we from Masbat College and in collaboration with KBR College Burang, we are going to celebrate virtual celebration of Independence Day. 74th Independence Day from 7 p.m. So all the participants, respected participants from different parts of India, I would like to request you to join with us and to celebrate our Independence Day. So with these warm words, I would like to I announce that formally declare that